Georgia, Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Madam
5
Chair.
minutes of questions.
Thank you, and thank you for having this hearing today, and thank each of you for being here. I want to start with you, Mr. Nicosat. You know, we've heard a lot about list prices. I'm familiar with AWP, AMP, net cost, all this other thing, but the list price that we're talking about here, in fact, Ms. Bricker in her opening statement said the problem starts with list price, not with rebates or discounts, if you will. But as I understand it, you actually lowered your list price here recently on one of your products. Is that correct?
That's correct. For our flagship cardiovascular product, Repatha, we introduced an option into the marketplace at a 60% reduced list price.
Well, that's exactly what we want you to do. So you did that.
We did, sir, and we did it with the hope of improving patient affordability, especially for Medicare patients, where their cost sharing is tied directly to the list price.
Did it increase patient access?
We've seen an increased patient access in certain areas, but uptake has been slower than you would expect. Overall, only about half of commercial beneficiaries can have access today to the lower list price option of Repatha, and only about 60% of Medicare beneficiaries can have access today.
So when you decrease the list price, it puts you on the formulary and puts you into a different tier, correct?
In certain instances, we have not yet gained formulary access for the low list price option.
Why not? That's exactly what we want you to do, is to decrease the list price so that you can have better access and patients can have better access to that. I'm having trouble to understand that it wouldn't automatically go on to a different tier and become more available.
We are trying, sir. We've ensured that our low list price option is always available.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't mean to interrupt, but let me ask you this. It's my understanding that after you lowered that you got notification from the PBM that you needed to give them 7 quarters notification before you can decrease the list price?
So I'm not going to comment on any specific contract document that we received around confidentiality, but I will say that we have seen new, more exotic constructs come in from across the supply chain around discounts that appear to be creating hurdles to list price reductions.
Mr. McCarthy, have you had any experience with that?
As I mentioned earlier, we have experienced difficulty getting our biosimilars on.
Okay, let's talk about let's leave biosimilars out of it right now and concentrate on this. It's my understanding that the PBMs are requiring you, before you decrease the list price, to give them a 7-quarter notification. Have you seen anything similar to that? We have
received one letter to that effect, yes.
Okay, so let's just take it the opposite. What about when you increase the list price? Do you have to give them any notification? Certainly they want notification before you do that. Mr. McCarthy?
Yeah, that would be part of our annual negotiations with the plans as part of the formula.
But do you have to give them any notification that you're increasing the list price?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but you have to give them notification that you're decreasing it. I'm appalled here. I'm not following this, because that's exactly what we want to do. Because if you decrease the list price, then that's going to decrease the amount of whatever you want to call it, the rebate or the discount. And therefore, they got to know this. Mr. Nicosat, you decreased the price on Repatha, and then still you weren't, your drug, even though you discounted it, your competitor stayed as the option there, as the preferred. Is that correct?
Our primary competitor in this case remained at their original list price for a period of about 5 months and has recently matched our move and also added a low list price option in the marketplace. But the competitive dynamic did create a situation where we found it tougher to negotiate to get to formulary access when we were competing against someone who could offer a larger net rebate to get to the same net cost.
I want to ask you, I'll ask Mr. Eberly. Mr. Eberly, do you, and this is a simple yes or no if you don't mind, does your company ever ask for an advance notice of a manufacturer decreasing their price?
No.
Okay. Ms. Bricker, does your company, Express Scripts, ever ask for an advance notice of a company decreasing their price?
Absolutely not.
Now, you're saying absolutely not.
Absolutely not, and I would implore them all to lower them today.
Okay, you're on record as saying that. I want to make sure you understand that.
I understand.
So there's no clause that says that you have to give them a 7-quarter notice in any of your contracts.
Absolutely not.
Okay? That's fine if that's the way you want to answer that. Let me ask you something, Mr. McCarthy. One of the arguments that I've heard that has been made here is that the pharmaceutical rebates at the point of sale that's being proposed by CMS, one of the changes that they're going to make, that those rebates, discounts, if you will, that they're not going to get to the patient, that the company, that the manufacturer is going to keep them. How would you respond to that?
Well, in our written testimony, we're strong supporters of passing those discounts through to the consumer so that they benefit from the lower net prices, which are going down.
Would you agree that that would be a beneficial and that the increase in transparency with the discounts being given at the point of sale will benefit consumers?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholsat?
Yes.
And finally, I'm sorry, Mr. Weberly? Everly. I'm sorry, not Everly, the third manufacturer over here. I'm sorry, please excuse
Ezekiel,
me.
yes. Thank you, Congressman.
The point, and at the point of sale?
Yes.
So you would agree?
I would agree.
Absolutely. Ms. Bricker?
Only a subset of patients will benefit. All will have an increase in premium.
All will have an increase in premium.
Yes. That's supported by the administration's.
Why is it that when Secretary Azar testified before this committee, he said the single best tool we have to completely change how drugs are priced in this country would be changing this rule? And you disagree with that?
I think there are many agencies that have confirmed the costs associated with doing that.
And finally, Mr. Eberly, excuse me.
I agree. The change in the rebate process will only benefit a subset of patients, and it will also only benefit a subset of patients that have high deductibles and coinsurances, where approximately 50% of the patients today have flat copays. So if you have a $100 drug with a $50 rebate, but the member only has a $20 copay, where does that $50 go?
But the point is that you would agree that transparency will help in the system. You're 100% pass-through, so it's not going to impact you one point at any point whatsoever.
It will not impact our bottom line at all. Our concern is representing our clients who pay for pharmacy benefits and the risk and increase in costs that it may give them.
Right. Okay, I'm way over, and I appreciate your indulgence, man.